TW Sports Talk. Further closer to the beginning of the NFL preseason, as the Hall of Fame game is going on, and as far as the Philadelphia Eagles are concerned, we're obviously coming off a rather interesting slew of days here, in due because of the Riley Cooper incident. I mean, if you've unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you've heard about it, but by now everything that's going on with this incident that occurred last week, where it was found, there's video footage of Riley Cooper, obviously saying a racially, inappropriate term here. That's the bottom line. The N word, if you want to go ahead and call it that. And using it, not just using it, but using it in, you know, towards towards black security guards out of malice at a country concert back in early June. And now that there's been this has been national news last week when it broke. And um this is a big deal, obviously. And going forward, this is it's definitely generated a lot of conversation around, about the issue, to the point where the X's and O's of training camp have become secondary the past several days. um you turn on the sports radio, you go, or whatever here in Philadelphia, and that's been the issue. um and a lot of people debating, you know should they punish him more, the ins and out of the whole philosophy, the whole philosophy behind the word. You know, there's a controversy of a double standard here. That some people have defended Riley Cooper for using this word. Um, you know, saying like, oh well, how come it's stupid that only black people can use the word, to they can use it, but white people can. And the reason is quite, the reasons are quite obvious. That if you're a white person, the bottom line is you can't say, you can't drop an N-bomb, if you want to call it that. That's the bottom line. It's, history has it, um if there's no excuse for Riley Cooper to use the word, and some would argue at all in this day and age. um Obviously black people, some of them use it to address one another, out of, and that's, all you can, if you're a white guy, for lack of better wording, the bottom line is you can't, for obvious reasons, you can't use the word. I mean, at least freely like that, or at all. It's wrong. And this goes to show you, this offended many within the Eagles locker room. um, and it's as big of an issue as it is because of um, the context that he used it in. Um, if you seen the video footage or heard it, etc. He said himself, that he was, possibly, there might have been some alcohol that may, but the bottom line here is that everybody has an ability to, filter out, and especially a guy like Riley Cooper, who's had a reasonable college education, and even went ahead and said that's not how he was raised. Um, but anybody with a reasonable education like this, and anybody who's a professional athlete, should have an ability to filter in their mind. Um, that there's there's some words like the one he used here that it can't be said. It's quite simple, and that's the bottom line. And that goes for many things in life, not just this situation. It goes for any situation. Uh, things, certain ways you do things, certain things you may or may not do. There's a filter that you just pay a little. You pay a conscious attention to something, then pretty soon, it becomes subconscious in your brain, and things don't slip out like that. Um, they what he said um, doesn't matter. It was in his vocabulary to begin with, and again, you have there's a thing called a filter that you can that you consciously can put in your mind, and anybody with a reasonable education like him should have. Um, any professional athlete should have. Whether these guys realize it or not, they're role model. They're supposed to be role models. Um, getting paid millions of dollars, obviously. They're you know performing, playing football, and not performing, but you know what I mean, playing football, um, for a lot of money. Obviously, it's a business, and that has a lot to do with it. All the money, but the point is, professional athlete, and some people try to like make it less of an issue because it's something that happened off the field, and it doesn't matter because in this situation goes to prove it, because that doesn't mean it's not going to get it's not going to get video recorded by somebody. That doesn't mean it's not going to get out to millions of people. That doesn't mean that it's not going to make national news, be everywhere. Not just on ESPN, everywhere. Um, and it doesn't matter if it takes place off the field or on the field. Um, when you're a professional athlete, you're supposed to be professional regardless. Um, and it happened out in public, for one thing. It's not like it's not like he said it, in the confines of his own home where nobody really heard it, or got video recorded footage of it. It happened out in public at a concert, and you know with the video recording of it goes all over the internet. And again, it made huge news when the video became widespread. So you know the whole apology. I mean, at this point, I guess you can say Riley Cooper is sincerely sorry. I mean, I don't know. Some could argue that, you know, is he more sorry that he got caught, and that this whole thing, you wonder if, you know, in the moments following this incident, when obviously this footage was not, you know, known to everybody like it is now, you wonder how Riley Cooper felt then about it, how it was handled then. If you just kind of let it slide under the rug, I mean, I guess we'll never know really. Um, and I guess for that reason, it might be irrelevant. But the point is here, um, it, it doesn't matter if this is something that happened off the field, if this isn't something that was team related, because obviously it's become very team related. Um, even though this is something that took place uh, off the field. Well, then again, technically, the concert did take place on the field. So, but actually, in that vein, maybe. But make a little humor out of a bad situation here. But um, the point is, this is obviously it became team related, it became national news, because it's a major issue. when you use that kind of racial slur in that context. That's the bottom line. And he, I mean, if that had that video not come out, I mean, it would have, again, it may have been swept under the rug for all we know. But people want to argue like how the footage became present, and if that that he that he's oh, who was filming, and that's not, that wasn't right. But that doesn't matter. The bottom line is it happened, and we're all aware of that. That's the issue here. Now, how the Eagles handled this. You know, you had to want a lot of people debated here. Um, Now, first he was given a $50,000 fine. Um, Now, there's a lot of there's been a lot of debate over how the Eagles should have handled this situation. And I've been listening. I've heard a lot of different thoughts and you know different different directions of how this should have been handled. Um, and I was especially listening to you know guys here in Philadelphia on the radio, like Mike Missinelli, and just all kinds of viewpoints, all kinds of callers, and I the way I look at it, if I was part of the Eagles organization, higher powers, I simply would have cut Riley Cooper. That's the bottom line. And people will say that, oh, he deserves a second chance, and again, some people downplay the issue. Um, some people would say it'd be hypocritical, but here's the bottom line. Number one, uh, Riley Cooper is easily replaceable. He's a marginal player in wide receiver in this league. He's no he's in no way, shape, or form. He's not a complete replacement to Jeremy Maclin, who coincidentally, it's like Jeremy Maclin goes down, Riley Cooper's going to be the guy that is supposedly going to step in for Maclin for the season, and then within hours, perhaps, um, or within a few days, this video comes out. Um, and okay, so going back to the point that and this is a business here that the Eagles are running, and it's a team that they're running. Now, it, going back to Cooper's on-field abilities, and had he been, if we had known that he was a star player, if he was a high caliber player, the reality of it is he could get away with this incident, perhaps, and that possibly, and that's just the way it is in this league. People want to say it's hypocritical, but the bottom line is that Riley Cooper is, I mean, he's not that he in the past few years, since being drafted, he hasn't been that high on the depth chart. I mean, you go down. I mean, you got Maclin, you got Jackson, obviously, and maybe Jason Avant in there. It's obviously Cooper hasn't been that high on the depth chart, and as we as we go forward here, this created a big issue in the locker room, because especially when about 2/3 of the guys that you're playing football with and against are of color. They're colored, so this definitely did stir a great issue here in the locker room. Now there's guys on record like Michael Vick, um, Jason Avant, who is very religious, guys that have you know come out and said how they forgive Riley Cooper for this, and I mean, let me just say, right, sure, he can be forgiven, but at this moment in the near future, this issue cannot be forgotten, especially since it's only become hotter and hotter as time has gone on, and I think that's how why the Eagles you know have been disciplining the issue a little more as time has as days have progressed here. Um, Now again, I said I would have cut Riley Cooper. It's bringing because as the issues become hotter, if you just and of course now with the Eagles, they fined him 50,000, and now Riley Cooper is going to take a leave of absence, and I guess that's for the time being. That I guess that's all right. I mean, and because here's the thing, the day after this news broke, and that night Riley Cooper said how he couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep, and I was listening to Sal Palantonio talk about
I
this.
agree.
Um, that the next day he showed up, and he was reportedly he was underweight or something,
Uh-oh.
and he was during the workouts, he was kind of standing alone, uh, away from everybody, and just like out of it, and he was really shaken by the incident, and by everything that happened, and and so I mean it was only inevitable that Riley, as mentally and emotionally shaken as he was, and with this whole thing with the locker room, it was obvious that he had to take a leave of absence of some, and that the issue that this issue had to get some resolving done, and I guess he's gonna be taking some a little hard there.
But so he essentially he was pulled out with for a leave of absence here. Um, but again, I mean, I would have gladly talked about this sooner, but I was away on the weekend, and it wasn't very convenient. It didn't I didn't really have all the resources ready, and the internet and everything. So that's why I'm talking about it now. But at that point, I would have cut Riley Cooper because I mean, this is a business that they're running, and a team, obviously, and with the locker room aspect, um, I think that's been handled, I guess now, at least for the time being. Now that Riley Cooper's away from camp, there's less of a dark cloud there, less of a distraction. They can the players can focus on the game here, on practicing, getting ready for the season, and they don't have to worry as much about this. Um, but if he was cut, they kind of wouldn't have to worry about it altogether. Um, because there's a whole wondering of whether or not Cooper comes back later in the season or something, some midpoint in the season, um, or perhaps I mean maybe this is a precursor to him getting released, or what I mean I don't know, and I mean here's the thing, I mean people think that'd be a little harsh if he gets cut or released or whatever, but the thing is, I mean he could always get a second chance in this league. And by the end of training camp, I mean, there's probably gonna be five receivers or so that of his caliber that he could easily be replaced. Could easily replace Riley Cooper if they needed to get a guy to fill that position. So it's silly to think that the Eagles need him at wide receiver. Um, and I mean, this is a big issue. This is a business you're running here. And there's been a lot of, definitely people who aren't Eagles team that, you you know, good for the Eagles brand. It's not good for business for one,
and it really doesn't hurt the team or the depth chart that he's not there. Now, you know, if this was, if like Jeremy Macklin, I mean, that's a loss there. Even though this is a season that not a whole lot of pressure to win, be a great team, that's still a big loss. And but Riley Cooper, I mean, as far as not him not being on the field, I mean that makes probably no difference whatsoever. Really, very little impact on the team. Um, depth wise, if any at all. So obviously, it's not going to really affect the season. And as far as running a business, which is something that they're doing, that's just the way it goes. Um, when you don't have whole lot of clout in this league, like Riley Cooper does not. He doesn't have a lot of clout in this league. That's the way it goes, and whether people like it or not, whether people say it's hypocritical or not, that's just the way it goes. That's the reality of this business, and of the NFL in general. It's a higher. I mean, this is a. I mean, there's been so much, you know, garbage going on over the Eagles off season with different players. I mean, you had the baby mama drama with LaShawn McCoy back in the winter, and you had Kerry Williams missing OTAs, and seemingly doing everything in his power to not be present at the OTAs. Picking out sconzas, um, and getting dental work done, uh, and stuff like that. But and you had Jason Peters drag racing, and all and now here we have this this whole video come out in this issue, and if I mean finding a guy $50,000, I mean that's like a parking ticket or something. I mean to these guys, and I mean the thing is also not just because you're running a business, and not just because Cooper's easily replaceable, but it's Chip Kelly. You got to put the foot down, and you got to start letting your team know. And cutting Riley Cooper would have also been a way to accomplish this. You got to send a message to the locker room here that all right, it's time to stop fooling around, because you don't see all this stuff going on with other teams. I mean, some teams more than others. They have great coaches who have sent a message to their team. But they're not there to fool around. Um, just because there's not a whole lot of football operation going on in June, that doesn't mean you should be out drag racing, and especially when you're coming back from a serious injury that caused you to miss the whole season last year. It's silly, and a message has to be sent as well in this case. And I would have said you cut Riley Cooper. A message definitely could have been sent there. That all right, guys, it's a shame this happened, but it's time to stop fooling around. Um, this stuff can't be going on, certainly, and because of this, I mean, we haven't had anything great with Eagles football to really talk about for a while. I'm talking about wins, and I mean, I guess if you want to count a 3-1 start last year, I guess maybe that was the last time we really had something good to talk about as far as the Eagles succeeding on the field. And even so, a 3-1 start was rather short lived as it is. So here we go through the off season, and we got this stuff going on, and this guy doing that, and then this happens, and again, all while we've been waiting for we're waiting for good success from the Eagles, and maybe it's not going to happen this year,
but we at least want to see a progression from last year's 4-12 season. And if we see another 4-12 season or worse, um, that to me that's not going to be acceptable. So that Chip Kelly may have to put the foot down. And people want to argue about how Andy Reid would have handled this situation, would have been handled differently, and do I really care? Do we really care? Let's worry about how it's focused on right now. What can be done? And I guess for this issue, they decided to I guess mutually they're having Riley Cooper do these classes. He himself felt it was good to step away, and that's good. I mean, it definitely does. Well, hopefully in the coming days, get rid of a big distraction. Um, and but again, I mean, if he gets released, I mean, or whatever, I mean, to me that would, just totally, from a business aspect, from a team locker room aspect, that would just, you know, get rid of a big dark cloud that's unfortunately, um, been surrounding this team right now. In recent, over the weekend, last week, whatever, and may continue to, you know, surround the Eagles. But you get rid of the guy, and it's, you look at it like, oh well, you know what? They totally got rid of the issue here. And again, Cooper can down the road he can be a part of another team. He can have more of a clean slate, perhaps, of that team, but just not here. It's going to be really tough for him to really have a clean slate here, in Philadelphia going forward after this issue. And guys like LaShawn McCoy, they've been outspoken about how this was they have a beef with what was said here. I mean, they're not lashing out about it, but it's they're really not giving Riley Cooper a good reception for this. So it's definitely a big issue still. And even if he goes through these courses and or whatever, I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing. But you release Riley Cooper and he gets a clean slate, and then the Eagles don't really have the issue to worry about at all. And perhaps then, I mean, maybe more of a message will be sent to these guys that okay, things have to be taken more seriously in the off season. Just because there's not team activity going on, team operation, that doesn't mean you can't be out fooling around, doing stupid stuff on Twitter, um, or breaking traffic rules or saying words um, that really should not be said at all. And that's to me that's the bottom line. And hope we'll see. It'll be interesting to see this week how whether or not this issue subsides more as Riley Cooper won't be around. Um, maybe as the week goes on, maybe we'll be you know the focus will go back more onto the X's and O's on the team, as preseason games go down, and things get underway here more with the preseason. And and the good thing is for now, Riley Cooper is not out there practicing with the team, not out there standing, by himself in an isolated area on the sidelines while things are going on and this and that. To me, it's you know, the, it's moving in the right direction, to not have him out there, to not to have him with this leave of absence. But again, I would have just I would have cut him loose. It's as simple as that. Not to be not just not to be mean or not to, but I mean when you do when why did Paula Dean, for instance, when Paula Dean and his Cooking Network, because it probably would have hurt business to, have after a phrase like that. That's just the way it goes. You got to cut from a business aspect, certainly. And here with football, I mean, the locker room could have been, really could have been continued to be divided over this, with Riley Cooper. And after saying this, and after, you know, you know, dozens of black football players that he was playing alongside. I mean, to me, it wasn't gonna fly. And again, from a business point of view, and to me, for Coach Chip Kelly sending a message to the locker room, you had, to me, I would have just cut him. Um, like the Food Network did to Paula Dean, or what? I guess that was the network it was, but because to me it would hurt. Obviously, it would hurt business in different ways. Because what Cooper said creates a dark cloud, or created a dark cloud. Um, that has been surrounding the organization, and has been having a lot of people looking at the organization like, oh man, like they have this racist football player, and whatever. And there is, I'm not trying to defend, I'm not just going to straight up defend the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. I mean, people would have a right to look at the Eagles, kind of, with a shaking their head no, and all that. They would have, I would have understood that. And to me, that's why you get rid of Riley. You get rid, you just get rid of the issue right then and there. And people wouldn't really have a reason to look at the franchise that way, or whatever. Look at the business that way, because it'd be looked at then as the team, they did the right thing. So, but then again, you can't please everybody sometimes. But as far as business goes, as far as the locker room goes, as far as this season goes, how performance wise, and just sending a message to the locker room, I think it would have been in the best interest of the organization to part ways with Riley Cooper. But for now, I guess, as the issue has become hotter, they went beyond just fining him $50,000. So see if anything more happens. See if it's a precursor to him maybe getting released, and then essentially kind of having the issue go away completely. Um, just have to wait and see what happens. But fortunately, we got the preseason games coming up, and this issue may subside then as we get closer to those. As we progress through the month of August here, and through the preseason, as the regular season is just right around the corner. So, with that in mind, thank you for tuning in this edition of TW Sports Talk. Um, and again, I mean, you want to anything you want me to talk about, or any questions you have, or anything, or, I'll give you credit. Give you credit on this channel for that. I would definitely encourage subscriptions. If you would like to subscribe and hear more, this channel has a lot coming out of it every week. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.